Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Well, today is day 2 of I've Become Jennifer McGuire. Well, I haven't actually become her, but I'm on my way. So today we're going to be doing a tone-on-tone inking, and we're going to be using the Hero Arts Unicorn White, again like we did the other day with the project we did, and we're going to be using some stencils and some bright colored paper, and this is cut to 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and we're going to layer that on a white background, but we're going to be using another color of ink over this stencil. It's going to be a lot like the results we got the other day, but since this is a different one of her techniques, then we're going to be using it because, again, we're becoming Jennifer McGuire. She used this little finger dauber deal, and I have to say, it took a long time, and it was a lot of this pouncing stuff, and I'm going to try, instead of ripping my cosmetic sponges that are like this apart as a triangle, I'm going to try and do it as a rectangle so that I get more surface space. How's that hit you? Anyway, that's what I'm thinking I'm going to try, and maybe alternate, but it took me too long. I did do one already, and we'll finish this card in the end, and this is what my result came out like. I liked it, but I want to try a couple different ideas, and so that's why we're using this stencil. It's from Stampin' Up. I don't know, Stampin' Up, sorry. I don't know if it's still available or not, but I know that's where I got it from. And so we're going to start, and we're just going to pounce on our orange cardstock and try to get enough of the white through there that it's no longer really orange and instead is more of a white. Yes, that's what we're shooting for. Orangish white. And if you don't think you're getting enough white, just go back over it, and until you get to the color your orange is no longer as orange as you want it to be. It's now white enough to make you happy. And if you're like me, go back and forth from hand to hand, because one hand gets tired, just go to the other one. This technique, I will tell you, is a great workout for people like me, because I lose my breath when I'm doing it because it's so strenuous. I am so out of shape. Clearly I am the most out of shape human being on the face of the earth. That daubing paper makes me out of breath. Oh my word. Anyway, so I'm having a really good time becoming Jennifer McGuire and looking at videos and deciding which techniques I want to try next. And I like this one. I thought this one was fun, and like I said, the results are pretty similar to what we did yesterday or the other day. If you've watched that other video, my first in my Becoming Jennifer McGuire series, if you watched that one, then you know what the results came out like, and this is going to be similar to that. I'm just repouncing over spots, making sure that I've got it hopefully as that I've covered the orange enough that it makes me happy. I'm going to shut off the camera now and dry this with my heat tool, and I'll be back. So I figured while I was showing you these, I would show you different stencils and different patterns. So this is another Stampin' Up stencil, and this is going to be Tumbled Glass that I'm going to be using, and my background color is kind of a baby blue color, and I've taped the bottom of the backs of the paper to the stencil so that the stencil is ready to roll, and I'm using my Tupelo Designs distressing tool that I really like, and it covers a lot more space, thereby making it so I'm not as out of breath as I was before. Aren't I clever? Another MacGyver moment where I've come up with a plan to cover more space, thereby making it so I don't run out of breath. I'm so with it. Anyway, what I found was, oh, I forgot to tell you this. If I didn't tell you this already, it's important that I tell you this. You want to make sure that you dry that white ink between doing the layers. So I ran my heat tool over this, and then afterwards I touched it to make sure that the white didn't smear. You don't want your white to smear, so it's really, really important that you dry it really well. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove your stencil from your paper, and then there you go. You have like a tricolor 3D look. You can really see it on the pink. It's not as clear because I covered up more of the white with the blue, but it still hasn't dried all the way, and the pink is more dry, so you can definitely see the difference in the colors. So that's where we stand with those. Let me go back and finish the other two colors, and then we'll put these all together. So this was kind of too short for a regular card. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use this orange piece behind it. I'm going to cut it in the middle and have the thanks be inset into that, and I'm going to raise up the front. So that's my plan. So our first step is I took my thanks greeting from this set that for some reason I can't remember the name of, but I'll find it and put it in the notes below. And I'm going to use some Versamark and ink up the thanks sentiment. Make sure it's really well inked. And I've already run my little pad over the orange to make sure that it had the cornstarchy stuff on it, so it doesn't, the rest of the embossing powder doesn't stick to it. So hopefully this will work. There's our thanks. It's nice and clear. You can see it really well. And I have some Ranger white embossing powder that I'm going to put on that. And I'll just sprinkle it over there really, really well. And because my paper isn't very thick, I should be able to get most of it off. So let me get my heat tool and I'll warm it up. You want to make sure you warm this up before you start heating it on your surface. Otherwise your paper warps and sometimes you don't have a good embossed image. So I like to make sure it's good and warm before I start. And then I like to start by heating the back. And usually if you have thin paper like this, it does a great job just by doing the back. There you have it. Okay, so we've got our thanks. It looks nice. Get that out of the way. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put the thanks image down on our paper. And I haven't decided. I think I'm going to cut my white a little bit, my white background just a little bit more. I think it's a little bit too long. So our next step, I'm going to open the card so it's easier to do this. Our next step is we're going to put our tape runner on the back and get this piece really well adhered. And we're going to put that on our card. The reason I put so much of that on there is because I've had not the best luck. Jennifer McGuire loves that pink tape, but I have to say I've not had the best luck using it, and I don't want to encourage you to use something that I don't have great luck with, and I don't have good luck with that. And it's called Stamp Runner from Craft Collection. I don't know why I can't get it to work like she does. She makes it sound like that thing will hold anything, but I've never had it work that well. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to cut, basically I'm going to cut this so that my thanks image, I have enough coverage on the top and the bottom so that my thanks image has I guess I'll have to explain it better. My T is about, it's a little bit over 1.5 inches from the top. So I think I'm going to go with 1.5 inches. I'm going to cut 1.5 inches off of this. Okay, so my goal here is now I'm going to raise these pieces up. I'm going to have to cut off a little bit of the bottom because I don't need that much. But this is my plan, is I'm going to raise these pieces up so the thanks is below it so I can do the top portion. Foam adhesive, and it's very, very, very sticky. You know how I always end up buying things that I can't control? Well, this is another one of those cases where I just can't seem to control it because it's just too ultra sticky. Let's see where we stand with that. Oh, that ought to be okay. Okay, so hopefully I got a hair. Let me turn it this way. I'm better if I can see things from the side. Okay. Now my bottom section is a little bit too long, so I have to cut a little bit off that. I'm still going to show all of the mistakes that I make. So I put 3 rows. I really wanted to have it backed on that because I'm hoping that this looks good when I'm done. I'm going to turn that sideways. Okay. Alright, so let's look at our embellishments and I'll be right back. Okay, I decided I would put a few of these, well, not a few, just a couple of these pearls on, just to kind of highlight. I got a little bit of that gluey stuff sticking out from under my pearl. Put one right there. And one there. I like these pearls because they're kind of thicker, and so they, you know, when you've got a card that's raised like that, I think it brings your focal point down to where the word thanks is. So that is, let me get my stamp for the back of the card. I made this for you. There's that one. Okay, I have 2 done, and I wanted to finish one more before I call it a day, so I'm going to do those and then I'll be right back. Alright, so for our last one, I'm going to duplicate this pink one that I just made. I thought it really came out well, so I thought I would just do it again. I'm not sure if I did it on video because I've been doing this over the last couple days, so I thought I would just show you how I did it. I took my punch that punches a 1 7/8 inch oval. This is scallop, and I punched out the blue background paper and also a piece of vellum. I'm going to cut my vellum piece in half right down through the center. I know right now you're thinking, well, that's going to look bad because you can see everything with vellum. Yeah, it will look bad for a minute, but it'll look better after a while. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my my scalp, and I'm going to line up my vellum scallop so it's just a little bit, oops, it's a little bit uneven, so it's a little bit sticks out from the edge just a little bit like that. Do the same to the top. I need a little bit more tape runner, I think. Do the same thing. It's kind of hard to see. I apologize for that when you do it when you're using vellum on any kind of background like this that you can hardly see it. Okay, any place that your vellum sticks out in a way that you don't like it, we're just going to cut that off because, sorry about that, because my ribbon is going to hide anything that I don't like. So same thing on this side. I'm just going to get rid of this stuff I don't like. Okay, then you're going to get the tape that's foam, you know, the thick tape that I hate. But we're going to work with it anyway, because, you know, you have it, you got to use it. I'm going to put some foam on the back of everything. So I'm going to put some of this, actually I think I'm just going to use fun foam on the back of my blue page. It's a lot easier to lay down, and it stays nice and flat when you mail it, and it's not as thick as the foam tape. So I'm going to use excuse me, I think I'm going to use some glue, well no, tear tape, I don't know, I'm just making it up now, tear tape, glue stick, tear tape. In my head I was saying tear tape, but out loud it came out something else, I don't know. We're just going to put some pieces down to hold it in place. One more. I'll do the same on the back. And then I'm going to have Rich cut out the part where we're taking the back off of the paper, because I don't want you to have to watch me taking tear tape backing off it. Doesn't seem like that's something you're going to want to watch. Okay, so what I did was I took foam tape and I put it on the back of my embellishment, and then I put a couple pieces of matching baker's twine right into the center of that. That's where the two pieces of the scallop, of the scalloped oval meet, and so when I cut that piece of vellum in half, that piece will, there in this center part, you won't see any vellum. So rather than have that not be visible, I figured I would just run a couple pieces of the baker's twine and just pull them tightly. I'll do one side at a time so it's easier. So I think I'm going to use glue stick to adhere the baker's twine to the back. And then what I'll do is I'll cut it once I'm sure I have my pieces pulled tight, like that. You want to make sure that they're as straight as you can get them. See how they're perfectly straight? Same thing on this side. You're going to pull them as straight as possible, wrap them around the back. These ones, okay, I'm going to, hold on, this piece is not as straight as the other, so I want to fix that, and I'm going to cut off, if my scissors will show back up from wherever they disappeared to. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to run it around the back as tightly as you possibly can, but you want to make them straight. See how these two, I'm going to make them as straight as the other side. Pull them, wrap them around, and then stick them into the glue that's on the back. But again, you want to make sure that they're as straight as you can get them. Then all this excess we're going to cut off. Both sides we're going to cut off the excess. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the front, making sure that everything is lined up and is straight, and they are. Do you see how both sides are straight? That's good. Now, I did already put my tear tape on the back and the front of my foam, fun foam. So now I can just lay my fun foam onto that piece. I don't have to worry now about my string, because nothing's going to happen to it now that I've put the piece of foam on the back. So what you're going to do is, again, I have tear tape on the back, and I'm going to line it up on my card so that it's straight. And if you line it up this way, you have a better chance, I think, of getting it straight because you're able to look really well at three sides of your card. Now I'm going to put a couple embellishments on this one. I liked these and hoped that the lighter blue match. I'm not exactly certain if they will. So if they don't, then we're going to kick it to the curb. But if they do match, then we're going with them. So we'll go with this light blue. And see. I think that looks cute. Okay, we're going with it. And put another one right there. And I had one fly off. Grab it. I'll put it right there. So then I already made my envelope for that card. So this is the card we just finished and its envelope. I really like this ink layering look. Here is the orange one with the sentiment in the background, and this is the blue one in a different style. And I made one little note card as well with green that I had done in a different pattern, but I thought it came out kind of cute too. So that's the ink layering technique for my second in my series of I'm Becoming Jennifer McGuire. I really hope that you're enjoying the series as much as I'm enjoying making them, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next one and let me know if there's any particular card of hers that you'd like me to reproduce. Okay, in my effort for full disclosure about mistakes I've made on my way to becoming Jennifer McGuire, I have to tell you about this. I'm sure you remember me running out of breath while I did the white on this piece of paper. Here's the funny part about this. When I cleaned the stencil to go back in and do the darker green on it, I could not line it back up. No matter what I did, I could not line it back up properly. I don't know what I did wrong, but I couldn't do it. I've turned it and twisted it and done all kinds of things. So I wanted to make sure I told you that if you pick a stencil like this, you need to make sure you keep track of how you laid it on there. So that's my first admission of, yeah, it's harder being Jennifer McGuire than we all thought. And the second thing I wanted to tell you was in my first video, when I was cleaning the Misty in between changing colors on, with the different stamps, I accidentally used a stronger cleanser than I should have, and I wiped the grid off my Misty. I did contact the My Sweet Petunia people, and they were so gracious, said send it to us and we'll fix it, no problem. So I wanted to tell you that I did that and how sweet they were about it. So those are my two disclosures of how it's not always easy on the way to becoming Jennifer McGuire. So those are some tips I want to give you, and I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll give this a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye-bye.